I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. I woke up from emergency surgery to find my credit card had been maxed out at Disney World. While I was fighting for my life in a hospital bed, my son was buying Mickey Mouse ears for his ungrateful children. What I did next, I canceled every card mid-trip and changed the locks on my house. But that was just the beginning. My name is Barbara, and I'm 72 years old. Before I tell you exactly how I made them pay, let me take you back to where I've always been the kind of mother who put her children first. Some people might call that old-fashioned. My generation was raised that way. You sacrifice everything for your family, and you do it with a smile. After my husband Robert passed away 15 years ago, I poured everything I had into raising my son Michael. Robert's death wasn't easy. Heart attack at 57 right there in our driveway after mowing the lawn on a Saturday afternoon. I found him collapsed next to the mower still running, cutting the same strip of grass over and over. Michael was 30, then already married to Tiffany for 2 years. They were expecting their first children, twins, we'd just found out. I remember standing at Robert's funeral watching Michael and Tiffany whisper to each other during the service, and thinking at least Robert got to know he'd be a grandfather. What I didn't know then was that I'd spend the next 15 years becoming less of a mother and more of a walking ATM. It started small. Michael needed help with the down payment on a house. Tiffany was pregnant and they were living in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment. "Mom, we need space for the twins," Michael said. "Just a loan. We'll pay you back. $30,000. I wrote the check without hesitation. That was most of Robert's life insurance money, but what else was I going to do with it? Let my grandchildren grow up cramped. They never paid me back. Not a single dollar. 3 years later, Michael's car broke down. The transmission, he said. Too expensive to fix. "Mom, I need a reliable car for work. How am I supposed to provide for Jake and Emma if I can't get to the office? $8,000. Gone." Then there were the smaller things. $500 here for Jake's baseball equipment. $300 there for Emma's dance recital costume. $1,000 for Christmas presents because the kids deserve a good holiday, Mom. I kept track at first, wrote it all down in a little notebook I kept in my nightstand drawer. But after a while, the numbers got too depressing and I stopped looking. What was the point? Michael was my only child. Everything I had would go to him anyway when I died. I lived modestly on Robert's pension and my Social Security. Nothing extravagant. A small 2-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood, a 15-year-old sedan generic brands at the grocery store. But I was comfortable. I could pay my bills, keep the heat on in winter, and occasionally treat myself to lunch with my friend Helen from next door. The real expense wasn't money, though. It was time. "Mom, can you watch the twins Tuesday and Thursday evenings?" Tiffany asked when Jake and Emma started kindergarten. "Michael has late meetings and I have my book club." Book club. I found out later it was actually wine and gossip at someone's fancy house in the suburbs. Tuesday and Thursday became Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and every other weekend. Jake and Emma practically lived at my house. I'm not complaining, I loved those kids. Jake with his obsession with superheroes making me watch the same Marvel movie 17 times. Emma with her princess phase insisting I braid her hair just like Elsa. But here's the thing, they never said thank you. Not Jake, not Emma, and certainly not their parents. When Emma would spill juice on my carpet and I'd spend an hour scrubbing it out, Tiffany would say, "Kids will be kids, Barbara. You're so lucky to have this time with them." Lucky. As if I should be grateful for the privilege of free child care. I calculated it once during a sleepless night after my back went out from lifting Jake off the couch. If I'd been paid minimum wage for all the hours I'd watched those children over 3 years, Michael and Tiffany would owe me over $40,000. But family doesn't keep score right. Last Christmas, I made the mistake that would lead to my downfall. Michael needed to order a special toy for Emma online, some limited edition doll that was only available on one website. "Mom, my card's acting weird. Can I use yours real quick? I'll pay you back tomorrow." I gave him my credit card number over the phone. "Just for this purchase, Michael." "Of course, Mom. I'll delete it right after." He didn't delete it. He saved it. And that decision would come back to haunt both of us exactly 3 months later. The pain started on a Monday morning in March. I was making coffee same as every morning when a sharp cramp seized my lower abdomen. I gripped the counter waiting for it to pass. Probably just gas or something I ate. I was 72 weird aches and pains came with the territory. But this one didn't pass. By Tuesday morning, I could barely stand up straight. The pain had moved to my right side, a constant throbbing that made me nauseous. I tried calling Helen, but she was visiting her daughter in Arizona. I stood in my kitchen, one hand pressed against my side, the other hovering over my phone. I should call Michael. The number rang 4 times before he answered. "Mom, what's up? I'm kind of in the middle of something." I could hear office noise in the background. Phones ringing, someone laughing. "Michael, Another wave of pain cut through me. "I need help. Something's wrong." "What kind of wrong? Pain?" "Bad pain. In my side. I can't." "Mom, I'm at work. Can't you call an ambulance?" Those words. I should have known right then. But mothers are experts at making excuses for their children. I just thought, "Mom, call 911. That's what they're there for. I've got a meeting in 5 minutes. Call me later and let me know what they say, okay?" He hung up. I stood there for a full minute, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. Then I called 911. The paramedics arrived within 10 minutes. 2 young men, probably in their 20s, who treated me with more kindness in 5 minutes than my son had shown in 5 years. "Ma'am, how long have you had this pain?" the taller one asked as they helped me onto the stretcher. "Since yesterday morning." They exchanged a look. "We need to get you to the hospital now." The emergency room was chaos. A man holding a bloody towel to his head. A woman with a screaming baby. A teenager bent double over a plastic basin. I was wheeled past all of them, which terrified me more than the pain. If I was being rushed ahead of people who were bleeding, something must be really wrong. A doctor appeared, young female, moving fast. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm Dr. Martinez. We're going to run some tests, but based on your symptoms and where the pain is located, I believe you have acute appendicitis." "Is that serious?" Her expression told me everything before her words did. "Your appendix is inflamed. If it ruptures, the infection can spread throughout your abdomen. That's called sepsis, and it's life-threatening. We need to get you into surgery as soon as possible." Surgery. The word hit me like cold water. I'd never had surgery before, never been put under anesthesia, never been cut open. "I need to call my son." "We'll make sure he's contacted. Right now, we need you to sign some consent forms." Everything happened so fast after that. Forms shoved in front of me, a nurse explaining risks, bleeding, infection complications from anesthesia. I barely heard her. All I could think was I could die. I'm 72 years old, and I could die on this table, and the last words my son said to me were, "Call me later." Next of kin, a nurse asked, pen hovering over a form. "Michael Patterson, my son." I gave her his number. "We'll call him right away." They wheeled me toward pre-op. Bright lights overhead, ceiling tiles blurring past. A nurse was inserting an IV, another was checking my blood pressure. Someone was explaining what would happen. They'd make small incisions, remove the appendix laparoscopically if possible, otherwise a larger incision. I wasn't listening. I was thinking about Jake and Emma. Would they miss me if I died? Would they remember their grandmother at all? Or would I just become a vague memory of someone who used to give them things, "Mrs. Patterson, your son is here." Michael appeared beside the bed, Tiffany right behind him. He looked stressed, his tie, loosened hair, disheveled. Tiffany looked annoyed. There was no other word for it. Her perfectly made-up face, her designer handbag that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill, and an expression that said she'd rather be anywhere else. "Mom," Michael squeezed my hand. "What happened?" "Appendicitis. They're taking me to surgery now." "Is it serious?" Dr. Martinez appeared. "Your mother's appendix is inflamed and close to rupturing. The surgery itself is routine, but at her age there are always risks with anesthesia. The procedure takes about an hour, but she'll be in recovery for several hours after. She'll need to stay overnight, possibly longer, depending on how she responds." Tiffany leaned close to Michael and whispered something. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw her pull out her phone, her thumb scrolling rapidly. Michael nodded at whatever she'd said, then turned back to me. "Mom, we'll be here when you wake up. Everything's going to be fine." I wanted to believe him. I held onto his hand as they started wheeling me away. "Promise, promise. I love you, Mom." Those were the last words I heard before the anesthesia pulled me under. "I love you, Mom." At least I'd have that, I thought, if something went wrong. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known as the drugs flooded my system and the world went dark, was that the moment I lost consciousness, Michael and Tiffany were already planning their vacation. I woke up in stages. First awareness of light behind my eyelids, then sound beeping machines, distant voices, a television somewhere playing the news. Then pain, a deep burning ache across my lower abdomen that made me gasp. "Mrs. Patterson, can you hear me?" I forced my eyes open. A nurse different from before, older, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a bun. "You're in recovery. The surgery went very well. Dr. Martinez removed your appendix laparoscopically. How's your pain level 1 to 10? 7. It felt like someone had set my stomach on fire. Let me get you something for that." She adjusted something on my IV, and within seconds a cool relief spread through my veins. The pain didn't disappear, but it became distant, manageable. "What time is it?" "Just after 6 in the evening. You've been out for about 3 hours, surgery plus recovery." 3 hours. Michael had promised he'd be here when I woke up. "Is my son here, Michael Patterson?" The nurse checked something on her computer, then shook her head. "I don't see anyone in the waiting room listed as your visitor. Would you like me to call someone?" The medication made everything feel hazy, unreal. Maybe he'd stepped out for coffee. Maybe he was in the bathroom. Maybe he was talking to the doctor. "Can you try his cell phone?" I gave her the number, my tongue thick and clumsy from the drugs. She called. I watched her face as she waited, then left a voicemail. "Hi, this is Susan from St. Mary's Hospital. Your mother, Barbara Patterson, is awake and asking for you. Please call back at this number." She hung up and gave me an apologetic smile. "I'm sure he'll call back soon. In the meantime, let's get you settled in a room." They moved me to a private room around 7. Small, sterile, with a window looking out at the parking lot. I could see the lights of cars coming and going, people visiting their loved ones, people leaving after visiting their loved ones. No one came for me. I tried calling Michael's cell, straight to voicemail. I tried Tiffany's, the same. They probably just went to get dinner, I told myself, staring at the ceiling. They'll be back soon. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. The nurses came and went, checking my vitals, asking about my pain, bringing me water and crackers that I couldn't stomach. Each time one of them entered, I'd look up hopefully, thinking it might be Michael. Each time, disappointment settled a little deeper in my chest. At 11, the night nurse, a young man named Derek, with a gentle manner, asked if I needed anything. "My son," I said, and then felt stupid. What could he do about that? No one's shown up. I shook my head. "I'm sorry, that's tough." He adjusted my blanket. "But you did great in surgery. Dr. Martinez said your appendix was really inflamed. A few more hours and it might have ruptured. You're lucky you came in when you did." Lucky. I didn't feel lucky. I felt alone. I barely slept that night. Every sound in the hallway made me think someone was coming. Footsteps would approach my door, pause, then continue past. Hope rising and falling with each one. By morning, I'd convinced myself something terrible must have happened. An accident. Maybe they'd been in a car crash on the way back from dinner. Maybe that's why they hadn't called. But then a rational voice in my head asked, wouldn't someone have notified you? You're Michael's emergency contact. If something happened to him, the hospital would call. Unless they were on a plane. Unless they'd left the country. Unless no. That was ridiculous. Michael wouldn't leave the state while his mother was in the hospital. Would he? Wednesday morning, a different nurse came in for rounds. "Good morning, Mrs. Patterson. How are we feeling today? Has anyone—" My voice cracked. "Has anyone been here or called?" She checked her tablet. "No visitors logged, but let me check with the front desk about calls." She came back 5 minutes later. "No calls, I'm sorry." I tried Michael's number again. Voicemail. I tried Tiffany's. Voicemail. This time I left a message. "Michael, it's Mom. I'm in the hospital. Where are you? Please call me back." Dr. Martinez came by around 10. "Mrs. Patterson, you're recovering beautifully. All your vital signs look good. We'll keep you one more night for observation, but if everything continues to look good, you can go home tomorrow." "That's good," I said automatically. "Is there someone who can pick you up and stay with you for a few days? You shouldn't be alone after abdominal surgery." "My son will take care of it." The lie came easily now. "Good. Make sure he picks up your prescriptions today so you have them ready. Pain medication and antibiotics. Very important you finish all the antibiotics." She left. I stared at the prescription papers in my hand, trying to figure out how I'd get them filled if Michael never showed up. That second night was worse than the first. The fear had transformed into something else. Hurt. Confusion. And underneath it all, a growing seed of anger. Where was he? not in an accident. I checked my phone obsessively for any calls from hospitals, police, anyone. Nothing. Not too busy to call. Nobody was so busy they couldn't make one phone call to their mother who'd just had emergency surgery. So where I lay in that hospital bed, the machines beeping steadily beside me, and felt something shift inside me. Something that had been bending for years finally reached its breaking point. Thursday morning arrived with discharge papers and instructions I barely heard. Take these medications. No heavy lifting. Follow up with your regular doctor in 2 weeks. Call if you experience fever, excessive pain, or swelling at the incision sites. Is someone picking you up? The discharge nurse asked. I'll call a cab. Her expression softened with pity, and I hated it. Hated that she could see how pathetic I was, a 72-year-old woman with no one to drive her home from emergency surgery. The cab cost $42. $42 I couldn't really afford, but what choice did I have? I clutched my prescription bag and discharge papers, trying not to cry as every bump in the road sent pain shooting through my abdomen. The driver, a middle-aged man with an accent I couldn't place, kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror. You okay, ma'am? You need me to drive slower? I'm fine, I lied. He helped me out of the cab when we reached my house, even walked me to my door. You sure you're okay? You need me to call someone? I'm fine, thank you. He drove away and I stood in my empty house, feeling the silence press against me from all sides. I'd baked cookies in this kitchen for Jake and Emma just last week. Chocolate chip, their favorite. They'd eaten half the batch while the others were still cooling, getting crumbs and melted chocolate everywhere. Tiffany had come to pick them up and hadn't even said thank you. The memory made me feel sick. I tried calling Michael one more time. Voicemail. That's when I decided to check my bank account online. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe there was some explanation I wasn't seeing. I opened my laptop, wincing as I sat down at the kitchen table, logged into my bank's website, clicked on my checking account. The number on the screen didn't make sense at first. I blinked, thinking maybe the pain medication was affecting my vision. Balance $287.43. 4 days ago, before the surgery, I'd had just over $6,000 in that account. My hands started shaking. I clicked on the transaction history. March 25th, Walt Disney World Resort. $1, $847 March 25th. Disney Park tickets, $2,340 March 25th. Disney Store, $486 March 26th. Be Our Guest Restaurant, $287 March 26th. Disney Photo Pass, $199 March 26th. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, $450. The list went on and on. Page after page of charges from Disney World in Orlando, Florida. I clicked over to my credit card account, already knowing what I'd find, but needing to see it anyway. Available credit, salary balance due, $15,000, maxed out. Every penny of my $15,000 credit limit was gone. March 25th, Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, $3,200. March 25th, Disney's Hollywood Studios, VIP Tour, $1,200. March 26th, Lightsaber Building Experience, $250. March 26th, Disney Springs Shopping, $523. March 27th, Character Dining, Chef Mickey's, $380. March 27th, Disney Genie Plea 4 guests, 3 days, $680. The charges were time-stamped. I could see exactly when each purchase was made. March 25th, 1:47 p.m. That was about the time I was being wheeled into surgery. March 25th, 3:23 p.m. That was when I was still under anesthesia, being cut open. March 25th, 6:15 p.m. That was when I woke up alone asking for my son. While I was fighting for my life, wondering if I'd survive the surgery, terrified and alone, they were buying Mickey Mouse ears and riding Space Mountain. I sat there staring at my laptop screen, and something inside me didn't just break. It shattered. Completely and irreversibly. All those years of putting Michael first. All that money I'd given him. All those hours watching his children. All the times I'd bitten my tongue when Tiffany was rude or dismissive. All the Thanksgivings I'd hosted, the Christmas presents I'd bought, the birthday cakes I'd baked. And the moment I needed him, the moment I was vulnerable and scared and possibly dying, he took what little money I had left and went on vacation. They didn't even ask. I checked my emails, moving slowly because every motion hurt. There it was from December when I'd given Michael my card information for Emma's doll. Subject card infos message. Thanks, Mom. I'll delete this right after I order. He'd lied. He'd saved my credit card information for 3 months, waiting for the perfect opportunity to use it. And the moment I was unconscious and helpless, he'd seized his chance. My phone was sitting on the table next to the laptop. No calls, no texts, no "How are you, Mom?" or "Are you okay?" or "We're so sorry we couldn't be there." Nothing. They were still in Orlando right now, having the time of their lives, completely unaware that I knew what they'd done. I looked at the calendar. Today was Thursday, March 28th. Based on the hotel charges, they'd booked the Grand Floridian through Sunday, March 31st. 4 more days of their magical vacation. 4 more days of my credit cards working. I picked up the phone and called my credit card company. Thank you for calling American Express. My name is David. How can I help you today? I need to report fraudulent charges. My voice was steady cold, nothing like the scared old woman who'd woken up alone in a hospital bed. I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Patterson. I'll be happy to help you. Which charges are you disputing? All the Disney charges starting March 25th. I was in the hospital having emergency surgery. I never authorized these purchases. There was a pause while he pulled up my account. I see multiple charges from Walt Disney World Resort and related vendors totaling, another pause, $14,873. Is that correct? Yes. I'm very sorry this happened. Now, I do see that some of these charges were made using saved payment information. Do you know who might have had access to your card details? My son. I gave him my card number once for a specific purchase. He saved it without my permission and used it while I was unconscious in surgery. Another pause. I understand. Since these charges were made by someone who had your card information and there's a prior authorization on file, this becomes a more complex investigation. What I can do right now is freeze the card immediately so no additional charges can be made. Then we'll open a fraud investigation that typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. Freeze it. Now. Done. As of this moment, the card is deactivated. No one will be able to make additional purchases. Thank you. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No, that's all. I hung up and immediately called my bank. First National Bank, this is Rebecca speaking. How may I assist you? I need to close my checking account and open a new one. Someone has stolen my debit card information. I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am. I can definitely help you with that. Can I have your account number? I gave her the information. She asked security questions. She pulled up my account. I see you have several automatic payments set up on this account. Those will all need to be transferred to the new account. We can help you with that process. That's fine. Just close the current account and give me a new one. I want them completely cut off. I understand. Let me get this started for you. This will take about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes to sever the financial connection between me and my son. 20 minutes to make sure he couldn't take another penny. While Rebecca worked, I opened a new document on my laptop and started writing. Every loan I'd given Michael over the years. Every check I'd written. Every time I'd bought groceries for his family or paid for the kids' activities because money's tight right now, Mom. The down payment on the house, $30,000. The car when his broke down, $8,000. The loans that were never paid back. At least $15,000 Jake's baseball equipment. Emma's dance classes, birthday parties, Christmas gifts, school supplies. Another $5,000 and the babysitting. 3 days a week for 3 years. Some weeks more when they needed date nights or had work events. If I'd charged even minimum wage $7.25 an hour for just the regular weekly hours, that was over $40,000. Total $98,000. $98,000 I'd given to a son who abandoned me during emergency surgery so he could ride roller coasters with my stolen money. Mrs. Patterson. Rebecca's voice brought me back. Your new account is all set up. I'm emailing you the new account number and routing information. Your debit card will arrive in 7 to 10 business days. Thank you. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, that's everything. I hung up and checked my phone. Still nothing from Michael. I looked at the charges on my credit card again. The hotel reservation went through Sunday. That meant they'd have to check out of their activities Friday morning. Try to pay for breakfast at whatever overpriced Disney restaurant they'd booked. That's when they'd discover their magical vacation had just turned into a nightmare. I should have felt guilty. A good mother would have felt guilty. I felt nothing but a cold, crystal-clear satisfaction. The phone finally rang at 7 that evening. Michael's name on the screen. I stared at it for a long moment, my thumb hovering over the answer button. Part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail. Part of me wanted to answer and unleash 3 days of fear and pain and rage. I answered. "Hello? Mom, finally I've been trying to reach you." His voice was bright, cheerful, like absolutely nothing was wrong. The audacity of it took my breath away. "Really?" I kept my voice neutral. "Because I've been calling you since Tuesday." "Yeah, sorry about that. We decided last minute to take the kids to Disney World. You know how Tiffany's been talking about it forever, and with Emma's spring break coming up, the timing just worked out. My phone's been acting weird with the service here." He was lying. I could hear it in his voice, that slightly too casual tone he'd used since he was a child when he didn't want me to know something. "How are you feeling?" he continued. "How'd the surgery go? How'd the surgery go? Like I'd had a dental cleaning." "I nearly died, Michael." I kept my voice flat. My appendix was inflamed and close to rupturing. I could have developed sepsis. "But you didn't write you're fine." "I spent 2 nights alone in the hospital because you left." "Mom, don't be dramatic. The doctor said you'd be fine. Tiffany and I talked about it, and we figured the kids shouldn't have to see you all sick in the hospital. It would have traumatized them. They're only 8. I closed my eyes. "So you went to Disney World instead." "The timing just worked out." His voice took on a defensive edge. "We'd been talking about this trip for months, and with work and everything, Mom, you should see how happy the kids are. Jake met Spider-Man today, and Emma got to have breakfast with all the princesses. She cried she was so happy. It's magical here. I'm so glad they're having fun." He didn't catch the ice in my tone. He never did. "They really are. Oh, and Mom, we got you some Mickey ears, the ones with your name embroidered on them. You're going to love them." My stomach turned. How thoughtful. "Listen, we'll come see you when we get back on Sunday, okay? We can bring dinner, make sure you're all settled. Love you, Mom. Gotta go, we have reservations at Cinderella's royal table in 20 minutes. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding the phone, and that's when I knew. He had no idea the cards weren't working. They hadn't tried to charge anything since I'd frozen them. They were probably resting at the hotel right now, relaxing by the pool, or getting ready for dinner, completely oblivious to what was coming. Friday morning would be very interesting. That's when they'd try to use the cards for breakfast, or check out of an activity, or buy something at a gift shop. That's when they'd discover that their magical vacation was over. I went to bed Thursday night and slept better than I had in weeks. Friday morning, I woke up to my phone vibrating non-stop on the nightstand. 17 missed calls, 34 text messages. I made myself a cup of coffee first, the expensive kind I usually saved for special occasions, and sat down at my kitchen table. The surgical incision throbbed as I settled into the chair, but the pain was manageable. Distant. I took a sip of coffee and opened my messages. Michael, 8:47 a.m. "Mom, my card isn't working. Can you call the credit card company?" Michael, 8:52 a.m. "Mom, we're trying to check out of our breakfast reservation and the card was declined." Michael, 9:01 a.m. "Mom, this is urgent. Call me now." Tiffany, 9:03 a.m. "Barbara, we have a problem with the card. We need you to fix this immediately." Michael, 9:15 a.m. "I called the credit card company and they said you canceled the card. What's going on, Tiffany?" 9:18 a.m. "This is completely unacceptable. We have 2 children here and you're playing games with us." Michael, 9:25 a.m. "Mom, please, the kids are asking what's wrong. They're scared. We need those cards to work." Tiffany, 9:30 a.m. "I don't know what kind of vindictive game you're playing, but this stops now. We have hotel charges and park tickets and you're going to fix this." Michael, 9:47 a.m. "Mom, we're stuck at the restaurant. They won't let us leave until we pay the bill. Please call me back." I took another sip of coffee. It was delicious. The phone rang. Michael. I let it ring through to voicemail. It rang again. Tiffany. Voicemail. Michael again. Voicemail. On the 4th call, I answered. "Mom, thank God." Michael's voice was panicked, breathless. "What's going on with the credit card?" I canceled it. Silence. Complete ringing silence. "Then you what?" I canceled the credit card, and I closed my checking account. Both cards are permanently deactivated. "Are you insane?" He was shouting now. We're in the middle of Disney World. We have 2 more days here. We have hotel charges, park tickets for today and tomorrow, dinner reservations. That sounds like a problem. A problem, Mom? This isn't funny. We have the kids here. They're crying. They don't understand what's happening. You had me in emergency surgery, Michael, alone, while you stole $15,000 from my credit card. We didn't steal. We were going to pay you back. The laugh that came out of me was sharp bitter. Like you paid back the $30,000 for your house down payment. Like you paid back the $8,000 for your car. Like you've paid back any of the money I've given you over the last 15 years. That's different. That was family helping family. No, Michael. That was me being your ATM. There's a difference. I could hear Tiffany in the background now, her voice shrill and angry. Tell her if she doesn't fix this right now, we're calling the police. Mom, did you hear that? We can report this. This is elder abuse or financial abuse or something. You're not thinking clearly. The surgery, the medication, you're confused. I'm not confused. I'm clearer than I've been in years. Mom, please. His voice cracked. We can talk about this when we get home, but right now we need you to call the credit card company and tell them to reactivate the card, just for 2 more days. Then we'll sit down and work everything out. No. What do you mean no? I mean no. You're adults. You took a vacation you couldn't afford using someone else's money while that person was nearly dying. Figure it out. How are we supposed to get home? We don't have enough credit on our cards to cover the rest of the hotel bill. I guess you should have thought of that before you abandoned your mother in a hospital. Mom, tell Emma that Grandma is recovering from surgery alone because her father decided Disney World was more important than his dying mother. You're being selfish. That word, that single word made something snap inside me. I'm being selfish. I gave you everything, Michael. Everything. And the one time I needed you, you weren't there. You were too busy spending my money on Mickey Mouse pancakes. I hung up the phone. My hands were shaking not from fear or regret, but from pure adrenaline. From the rush of finally standing up for myself after 72 years of bending. The phone rang again immediately. Michael. I declined the call. It rang again. Tiffany. Declined. Text messages started flooding in one after another, my phone buzzing like an angry hornet. Tiffany, 10:03 a.m. You're a horrible person. What kind of grandmother does this to her own grandchildren? Michael, 10:05 a.m. The restaurant manager is threatening to call the police. Please, Mom. Tiffany, 10:08 a.m. Jake is sobbing. Emma won't stop asking why Grandma hates us. You're traumatizing these children. Michael, 10:15 a.m. Fine. We'll figure it out ourselves, but don't expect us to ever forgive you for this. I set the phone face down on the table and went to take my pain medication. The prescription bottle rattled as I opened it. I'd had to take a cab to the pharmacy yesterday, another expense I couldn't afford. $40 for medications that should have been picked up by my son. But none of that mattered now. I swallowed the pills and looked around my small kitchen. The same kitchen where I'd baked countless birthday cakes, where I'd made chicken soup when Michael was sick as a child, where I'd taught him to crack eggs and measure flour and stir without splattering. When had he stopped seeing me as his mother and started seeing me as a resource to be exploited? The phone buzzed 19 more times that day. I didn't answer any of them. Saturday morning I called Harold Brennan. Harold had been Robert's lawyer and friend. They'd gone to college together, played golf every Sunday, shared the same dark sense of humor. After Robert died, Harold had handled the estate, what little there was of it. Life insurance, the house deed, pension beneficiary updates. He was semi-retired now, mostly doing consultations for old clients and friends. But when I called his cell phone, he answered on the second ring. Barbara, is that you? Hello, Harold. I need legal help. There was a pause. What's wrong? You sound different. I am different. Can you see me today? Of course. Come by the office at 2. Harold's office was in a small professional building downtown, the kind with worn carpet and outdated wood paneling that somehow felt more trustworthy than the gleaming glass towers nearby. He met me at the door, and I saw his eyes widen when he noticed how carefully I was moving. Barbara, are you all right? I had emergency surgery Tuesday. Appendix. My God, why didn't Michael call me? I would have... Michael was busy. The bitterness in my voice stopped him mid-sentence. He ushered me inside, helped me into a leather chair that had probably been there since the 70s. Tell me everything. So I did. I told him about the surgery, about waking up alone, about the 3 days of silence. I showed him my bank statements on my phone, every Disney charge, every dollar stolen. I told him about the phone call, about Michael's complete lack of remorse. Harold's expression grew darker with every word. He was 75 now, a grandfather himself to 4 grandchildren he adored. I could see the anger building behind his eyes. "That son of a bitch," he said finally. "I'm sorry, Barbara, but that's what he is. I need to change my will, completely. I assumed that's why you're here. I want Michael removed as beneficiary of everything. The house, my savings, my pension survivor benefits. All of it." Harold pulled out a legal pad and started taking notes. "Do you have alternative beneficiaries in mind?" I'd been thinking about this all night, lying in bed with the surgical pain throbbing through me. "Split everything 3 ways. 40% to St. Mary's Children's Hospital. That's where I had the surgery. 35% to the Sunrise Women's Shelter. 25% to the County Animal Rescue." Harold looked up from his notes. "That's very generous. But Barbara, this is a significant decision. Your estate is worth approximately $300,000 with the house pension and savings. Are you certain you want to disinherit your only child?" "My child abandoned me during emergency surgery to go on vacation with stolen money. Yes, I'm certain." "What about Jake and Emma, the grandchildren?" That one hurt, but I thought about those text messages. Emma won't stop asking why Grandma hates us. Not Emma misses you, not Emma wants to know if you're okay. Just another manipulation tactic. Those children are being raised to see me as an ATM. Their parents teach them to take without gratitude. Maybe if my money goes to actual children in need, it'll do some good. Harold set down his pen. "Barbara, I've known you for 30 years. I've never seen you like this." "Like what?" "Strong. Don't get me wrong, you've always been strong. But this is different. This is steel. I spent 72 years being soft, Harold. It got me abandoned in a hospital." He nodded slowly. "Then let's do this right. I'll draft the new will today. We can have you sign it Monday." "I need it done today." "Today? They get back from Orlando tomorrow. I want it legally executed before they return, before they show up at my door expecting everything to go back to normal." Harold checked his watch. "Give me 3 hours. I'll call in my paralegal. We'll get it done." While I waited, I went through my house with a methodical coldness I didn't recognize in myself. Everything that belonged to Michael's family went into boxes. Jake's action figures that lived in my spare bedroom, Emma's art supplies, the expensive markers and sketch pads I'd bought because she said she wanted to be an artist, the toys they'd left here over years of visits, treating my home like an extension of their own. Family photos came down from the walls. Michael's high school graduation, his wedding, the twins as babies. I left up only the photos of Robert and me and one of Michael as a small child before everything got complicated. I found the spare key to my house that I'd given Michael years ago. It was still on the kitchen hook where he'd hung it last time, labeled Michael's key in my own handwriting. I removed it from the ring. On Monday, I'd have the locks changed. But for now, this was enough. The boxes, 7 of them, by the time I finished, sat stacked by the front door, ready to be given back. Or thrown out. I didn't care which. My phone rang while I was packing. Helen from next door. "Barbara, I just heard you were in the hospital. Why didn't you call me?" "You were in Arizona visiting Sarah." "I would have come home. My God, emergency surgery, and you didn't tell anyone. It happened fast." "Where's Michael? Is he taking care of you?" The question hung in the air. Helen had been my neighbor for 12 years. She'd watched Michael grow from a grieving 30-year-old into a middle-aged man who visited less and less frequently. She'd seen how much I did for Jake and Emma. "Michael's been busy," I said finally. There was a long pause. Helen wasn't stupid. "I'm coming over. Have you eaten today?" "Helen, you don't have to." "I'm bringing soup. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up before I could argue. Helen arrived with a container of homemade chicken soup and a bag of fresh bread from the bakery downtown. She took one look at me and pulled me into a careful hug. "You look terrible." "Thank you." "I'm serious. You just had surgery. You should be resting, not—" She noticed the boxes by the door. "What's all this?" "Michael's things. I'm returning them." Helen set down the soup and turned to face me fully. "Barbara, what happened?" So I told her. Everything. The surgery, the abandonment, the stolen money, the phone call from Disney World. By the end, Helen was gripping the edge of my kitchen counter, her knuckles white. "That absolute bastard." Harold said the same thing. You're changing your will? Signing the papers at 4 today. Good. Helen ladled soup into a bowl, set it in front of me. Eat, then tell me what else you need. I need a spare key holder, someone I trust. I'm changing the locks Monday. Done. What else? I need to know I'm not crazy, that I'm not overreacting. Helen sat down across from me and took my hands. She was 68, a widow for 5 years. Her own children lived out of state, but called every week, visited every few months. She knew what a good family looked like. Barbara, you're not overreacting. If anything, you're underreacting. What he did is unforgivable. He's my son. And you're his mother. The woman who gave him life, raised him, supported him financially and emotionally for 45 years. And when you needed him most, he stole from you. That's not a son. That's a parasite. The word should have shocked me. Instead, it felt like relief. Someone else seeing what I'd been too afraid to name. Eat your soup, Helen said. Then we're watching something mindless on TV, and I'm staying until you fall asleep. Doctor's orders. You're not a doctor. Neighbor's orders, then, just as binding. At 4 o'clock, I was back in Harold's office reading through the new will. It was simple, direct, and absolutely clear. Upon my death, Michael would inherit nothing. No house, no savings, no personal effects beyond photographs and sentimental items of no monetary value. Everything else would be liquidated and distributed to the 3 charities I'd named. There was a clause specifically addressing potential challenges. I am of sound mind and body at the time of this document's execution. I have deliberately and intentionally excluded my son Michael Patterson from inheriting any portion of my estate due to his actions of financial exploitation and abandonment during a medical emergency. Harold had 2 staff members there to witness the signing, Patricia and James, both longtime employees who'd known Robert. Mrs. Patterson, Patricia said gently, are you sure about this? It's not too late to take more time to think. I'm sure. I signed my name on every page. My signature was shakier than usual, whether from the pain medication or the weight of what I was doing, I couldn't tell. When it was done, Harold placed the will in an envelope and sealed it. This is now your official last will and testament, superseding all previous versions. I'll file it with the county Monday morning. What if Michael contests it? He can try. But with the medical records from your surgery, the bank statements showing the theft, and the clear language about being of sound mind, he won't get far, especially if you're alive to testify about what happened. And if I'm not, Harold's expression softened, then this document speaks for you, and it speaks very clearly. I took the copy he handed me and stood slowly, pain shooting through my abdomen. Thank you, Harold. Barbara. He walked me to the door. I'm proud of you. Robert would be too. That almost broke me, but I held it together until I was back in my car. Then I cried. Not from sadness or regret, but from something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. Sunday evening, I was sitting in my living room when a text came through. Michael, 6:47 p.m. We'll be home tomorrow around 2. We need to talk. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed my response. Me. There's nothing to talk about. Don't come to my house. Michael, 6:49 p.m. Mom, please. We need to discuss this like adults. Me. You stole from me while I was in surgery. We're done discussing. Michael, 6:52 p.m. The kids want to see you. They miss you. Me. Tell the kids their grandmother almost died alone. Then tell them why. Michael, 6:55 p.m. You're being unreasonable. We're coming over whether you like it or not. I blocked both their numbers. Then I called a locksmith. Morrison Security, this is Tom speaking. I need my locks changed first thing Monday morning. Emergency situation. Can I ask the nature of the emergency, ma'am? Family issue. I need someone who can't get in anymore. There was a pause. Tom had probably heard this story 100 times. I have an opening at 9 a.m. Monday. Front and back doors. Yes, both. I'll be there at 9 sharp. Monday morning arrived with rain. Heavy, angry rain that matched my mood perfectly. Tom from Morrison Security showed up at 9 on the dot, a young man in his late 20s with kind eyes and a professional manner. He reminded me of Michael before Tiffany, before the entitlement set in. Just the 2 doors. Just the 2. And I need 3 keys total. 1 for me, 2 spares. You got it. This'll take about an hour. While he worked, I called my doctor's office to schedule my follow-up appointment. The receptionist was cheerful, asking how I was recovering. Fine, I lied. The truth was I was still in pain, still tired, still processing the emotional trauma of everything that had happened. But I was also free. For the first time in 15 years, I was free. I called my sister Linda in Arizona. She was 2 years younger than me, divorced for a decade, living her best life in a retirement community with more activities than I could count. Barbara, I've been meaning to call you. How are you? I need to tell you something. I told her everything. The surgery, Michael, the money, the will. Linda listened without interrupting, which was unusual for her. When I finished, there was a long silence. Barbara, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry, I'm not. You're not numb. I'm angry. I'm hurt. But I'm not sorry. For the first time in my life, I'm putting myself first, and it feels good. Good, Barbara, you sound different. I am different. Linda was quiet for another moment. Michael's been taking advantage of you for years. I've wanted to say something so many times, but you were always so defensive of him. I know. I made excuses. I told myself that's what mothers do. That's not what mothers do. That's what doormats do. And you were never a doormat, Barbara. You raised that boy to be better than this. Apparently I failed. No, he failed. He had the best mother in the world, and he chose to become a selfish, entitled brat. That's on him, not you. We talked for another 30 minutes. Linda told me about her life, her friends, the water aerobics class she'd joined. Normal, boring, beautiful life things. Come visit me, she said before we hung up. Arizona's beautiful this time of year. You need to get away. Maybe I will. Tom finished the locks at 10:30. He handed me 3 shiny new keys. All set, Mrs. Patterson. Old locks are in the truck if you want them. Throw them away. You got it. He hesitated. Ma'am, I hope everything works out with your family situation. It already has. Thank you, Tom. He left, and I stood in my house with my new locks and my new will and my new sense of self, and I waited. They arrived at 2:30. I saw them through the front window. Michael's car pulling into the driveway, all 4 of them getting out. Michael looked exhausted. Tiffany looked furious. Jake and Emma looked confused and tired. The knock came 30 seconds later. I looked through the peephole. Michael stood front and center, Tiffany beside him with her arms crossed. Jake and Emma hung back, holding their Disney backpacks. Mom opened the door. We drove 7 hours straight. I said nothing. Barbara, we know you're in there. Your car's in the driveway. More knocking. Harder this time, insistent. Michael turned to Tiffany. She's just being stubborn. She'll open it. They waited. I watched through the peephole as Michael knocked again, then pressed his face close to the door. Mom, please. We need to talk about this. The kids are tired. Emma's small voice. Grandma, are you mad at us? That almost broke me. Almost. But I remembered the text messages. Emma won't stop asking why Grandma hates us. Weaponizing a child's emotions to manipulate me. I walked away from the door, went to my bedroom, closed the door. I could still hear them outside, but muffled now. Distant. Michael's voice raised. This is ridiculous. Tiffany, try the back door. Footsteps around the side of the house. The back door knob rattling. More knocking. They stayed for 47 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on my nightstand counting down until they finally gave up. Let's just go home, Michael said, his voice carrying through the walls. I'll try calling her tomorrow. This is insane, Tiffany said. We should call someone. Adult Protective Services or something. She's clearly not in her right mind after the surgery. Let's just go. Jake started crying. I want to give Grandma her Mickey ears. We'll give them to her later, buddy. Come on. More footsteps. Then the sound I'd been waiting for, Michael trying his key in the front door. It didn't work. What the hell? His voice was closer, confused. He tried again, jiggling the key harder. The key's not working. Maybe you have the wrong key, Tiffany said. It's labeled, "This is Mom's house key." A pause, then realization in his voice. She changed the locks. She actually changed the locks. This is elder abuse. Tiffany's voice was loud, probably hoping I'd hear. We could call social services. She's clearly not thinking straight after her surgery. Let's just go home. Michael sounded defeated, broken. I'll try to talk to her tomorrow when she's calmed down. I wouldn't calm down. I was calmer than I'd been in years. Their car started. pulled out of the driveway, the sound fading down the street. I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling and felt nothing but a profound sense of peace. The email started that night. From Michael Patterson, subject please read time. 9:43 p.m. Mom, I don't understand what's happening. I know you're upset about the money, but we were going to pay you back. We always do. This trip was important for the kids. They've been asking to go to Disney for years, and we finally had the chance. I'm sorry I wasn't at the hospital. You're right, I should have been there. But the doctor said you were fine, and I didn't think you'd mind if we took the opportunity while it was there. Please call me. We need to talk about this like adults. Love, Michael. I deleted it without responding. The next morning, another email. From Michael Patterson, subject the kids miss you. Time, 7:15 a.m. Mom, Emma's been crying every night since we got back. She doesn't understand why you won't see her. She made you a drawing at Disney Cinderella Castle with you in front of it. She wanted to give it to you, but you wouldn't open the door. Jake keeps asking if he did something wrong. I told him no, that Grandma just needs time. How much time, Mom? They're 8 years old. They don't understand adult problems. Please don't punish them for my mistakes. Michael Tuesday brought 2 more emails and a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Patterson, this is Tom Whitmore. I'm an old friend of Michael's from college. He's really torn up about this situation with you two. I know it's none of my business, but he's a good guy, and I think maybe you could just talk to him. Family is important. I'm sure whatever happened can be worked out. I blocked the number. Wednesday, someone else called. Pastor Williams from the church. Michael's family attended. I hadn't been to church since Robert died. Organized religion had never been my thing, but apparently Michael had thought a religious authority might sway me. Barbara, this is Pastor Williams from Grace Community Church. Michael came to me very distressed about your estrangement. As a man of faith, I believe strongly in the power of forgiveness and family reconciliation. Would you be willing to come in and talk? Sometimes a neutral third party can help bridge these gaps. I didn't return the call. Thursday brought the letter. It arrived by certified mail requiring my signature. The return address was a law office downtown. Whitmore & Associates. I opened it, standing in my kitchen, my coffee growing cold on the counter. Legal notice of intent. To Barbara Patterson, from Whitmore & Associates, representing Tiffany Patterson. This letter serves as formal notice that our client Tiffany Patterson is considering legal action regarding the unlawful alienation of grandparents' rights. Under Florida Statute 752.0011, grandparents may be denied visitation only under specific circumstances. Your recent actions changing locks, refusing contact, and blocking communication constitute a pattern of alienation that is harmful to the minor children, Jake and Emma Patterson. Furthermore, our client has grounds to pursue claims of defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress based on statements you allegedly made to family members regarding our client's character. We are prepared to file suit within 10 business days unless you agree to the following. 1. Restore regular visitation with grandchildren. 2. Provide written apology for defamatory statements. 3. Pay compensatory damages for emotional distress in the amount of $50,000. Please contact our office within 5 business days to discuss resolution. Sincerely, James Whitmore Esquire. I read it 3 times, feeling my blood pressure rise with each reading. Then I called Harold. They're threatening to sue me. Who is Tiffany? Or Tiffany's lawyer? Grandparents' rights, defamation, emotional distress. They want $50,000. Harold was quiet for a moment. Fax me the letter. I don't have a fax machine. Email it. Take a picture with your phone. I did, my hands shaking with anger. Harold called back 5 minutes later. This letter is horseshit. Harold, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. Florida grandparents' rights law is very narrow. You can only sue for visitation if there's been a death, divorce, or abandonment by the parents. None of those apply here. And defamation. What did you allegedly say that was defamatory? I told my sister that Michael stole from me and abandoned me during surgery. That's not defamation. That's truth. Truth is an absolute defense. So what do I do? Nothing. Don't respond. Let them waste money on this incompetent lawyer. If they actually file suit, which I doubt they will, we'll respond then. But Barbara? Yes. This tells me something important about your son and his wife. They're not just entitled. They're vicious. They're trying to intimidate you into giving them money. It's working. I'm scared. Don't be. I've been practicing law for 40 years. This kind of threat letter is designed to scare elderly clients into settling. It almost never goes to court because it would get thrown out immediately. You're sure? I'm sure. Go about your life. Let me worry about the legal threats. Friday brought something I didn't expect. An email from Tiffany herself. From Tiffany Patterson, subject important news time, 3:27 p.m., Barbara. I don't know if Michael told you, but I'm pregnant, 12 weeks along. We found out right before the Disney trip. You're going to have another grandchild, a granddaughter. We're naming her Lily after my grandmother. I know you're angry right now. I know you feel like we wronged you. But think about Lily. Think about this innocent baby who doesn't deserve to grow up without her grandmother. Jake and Emma barely remember what you were like before this happened. Lily will never know you at all if you keep this up. Is that really what you want? To miss out on another grandchild's life over money? We can work past this. Families fight, but families also forgive. Please reconsider. Tiffany. Attached to the email was a photo, a grainy black and white ultrasound image, a tiny curved shape with a flickering heartbeat marked by the technician's measurement lines. I stared at that image for a long time. Another grandchild. A baby girl. I thought about Jake and Emma as newborns, how I'd rocked them for hours, changed diapers, sung lullabies Robert used to sing to Michael. How Emma had grabbed my finger with her tiny hand, and I'd fallen completely in love. I thought about this new baby Lily and what her life would be like. Would Tiffany and Michael teach her to view me as they'd taught Jake and Emma, as a resource to be exploited, an old woman who existed to give them things? Or would they teach her I was the crazy grandmother who abandoned the family over money? My hand hovered over the reply button. Then I thought about waking up alone in that hospital room. The fear, the pain, the 3 days of silence. I thought about seeing my bank account drained while I was unconscious and vulnerable. I thought about Michael's voice on the phone from Disney World. You should see how happy the kids are. I closed the email without responding. Saturday morning, I woke up and made a decision. I wasn't going to spend whatever time I had left being angry. I wasn't going to spend it being sad or guilty or manipulated. I was going to live. I called the community center downtown. Do you have any classes or activities for seniors? The woman on the phone, young enthusiastic, rattled off a list. Yoga painting book club, bridge, water aerobics. Water aerobics, I said. When does it meet? Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 10. Would you like to register? Yes, please. Next, I called the public library. I saw you have a children's literacy program I'd like to volunteer. That's wonderful. We always need readers for our preschool story time. It's every Tuesday afternoon at 3. Would that work for you? Perfect. Then I called the number Patricia, my financial advisor, had given me. Patricia was someone Harold recommended, a straight-talking woman in her early 50s who specialized in retirement planning. Mrs. Patterson, I was hoping you'd call. When can you come in? Is Monday morning too soon? Monday's perfect, 9 a.m. I'll be there. Tuesday morning, I walked into the community center pool area, feeling more nervous than I'd felt in years. I was wearing a one-piece swimsuit I'd bought 20 years ago, back when Robert was still alive, and we'd occasionally go to the beach. It was faded and a little loose, but it would do. A group of women was already in the pool, chatting and laughing. All around my age, some older. The instructor was a young woman in her 30s, enthusiastic and loud. Welcome, new member, Barbara. This is my first time. Wonderful. Hop in, the water's heated. We're just warming up. I climbed down the ladder slowly, mindful of my surgical incision. The warm water felt incredible against my skin. Ladies, we have a new friend. Everyone say hi to Barbara. A chorus of hellos, smiling faces. No one asking why I was there or what my story was. Just genuine welcome. The woman next to me, probably in her mid-70s, with short silver hair and laugh lines around her eyes, extended her hand. Dorothy, nice to meet you. Barbara. First time in water aerobics? First time in any aerobics? Dorothy laughed. You'll love it. Easy on the joints, great for the soul. That's Susan over there. She pointed to a woman in a bright yellow swimsuit. And that's Margaret. And that's Pearl. By the end of the hour, I'd learned all their names and a surprising amount about their lives. Dorothy was a widow of 10 years, 3 kids living in different states, 5 grandkids she saw on FaceTime. Susan was divorced, her ex-husband having left her for a younger woman 15 years ago. Margaret's husband was in a nursing home with dementia. Pearl had never married, had no children, and seemed perfectly content with that choice. "Coffee after?" Dorothy asked as we were toweling off. "There's a great place across the street." "I'd love that." The coffee shop was busy, filled with morning regulars. We claimed a table by the window, 4 women in our 70s, dripping pool water and laughing. "So Barbara," Susan said, stirring sugar into her coffee, "what's your story? You have that look." "What look?" "The look of someone who's been through something recently. We've all had it at some point." I hesitated, then thought, why not? These women didn't know Michael. They had no stake in my family drama. So I told them. Not everything, not the financial details or the will, but the basics. Surgery, abandonment, the Disney trip, the stolen money. When I finished, there was silence around the table. Then Dorothy spoke. "What an absolute asshole." I almost choked on my coffee. "I'm sorry," Dorothy continued, "but that's what he is. My kids aren't perfect, but if I had surgery, they'd be on the first plane home. All 3 of them." Susan nodded. "My daughter drove 8 hours when I had my hip replacement. Stayed for 2 weeks. Made me meals, took me to appointments, everything. And we're not even that close after the divorce." "What did you do?" Margaret asked. "After you found out?" "I cut him off. Changed my will. Changed my locks. Told him we're done." Pearl raised her coffee cup. "Good for you." "Really? Really? You know what your problem was? You were being a mother when you should have been teaching him to be a man. Real men don't abandon their mothers in hospitals." "But he's my son." "And you're his mother," Dorothy interrupted. "The woman who gave him life. That should mean something. If it doesn't, that's on him, not you." Something loosened in my chest, something that had been tight and painful since that first night in the hospital. "Thank you," I said quietly. "For what?" "For not telling me I should forgive him. For not saying family is family and blood is thicker than water and all those things people say." Susan laughed bitterly. "Honey, at our age we know the truth. Blood isn't thicker than water. Sometimes blood is just blood and it gets spilled when people cut you deep enough." We sat there for another hour talking about everything and nothing. Our lives, our regrets, our hopes. It was the first time since Robert died that I'd felt like I had friends who understood. When we finally left, Dorothy hugged me. "Same time Thursday." "I'll be there." That afternoon, I went to the library for the first time as a volunteer. The children's section was bright and cheerful walls painted with murals of storybook characters. A group of about 15 preschoolers sat on a colorful carpet, wiggling with anticipation. The coordinator, a woman named Jennifer in her 30s, introduced me to the kids. "Everyone, this is Mrs. Barbara. She's going to read to you today." "Hi, Mrs. Barbara," they chorused. I sat in the rocking chair they'd provided and opened the book Jennifer had selected. The Very Hungry Caterpillar. I'd read this book to Jake and Emma hundreds of times. Emma had loved the pictures of food. Jake had liked the part where the caterpillar built his cocoon. But these children were different. They didn't take me for granted. When I did the voices, they giggled. When I turned the pages, they leaned forward to see. When the caterpillar turned into a butterfly, they clapped. After the reading, a little girl with dark curls and big brown eyes came up to me. "You read really good." "Thank you, sweetheart." "Are you a grandma?" The question hit harder than I expected. "Yes, I am." "You're a good grandma. My grandma lives far away. Can you be my grandma here?" Jennifer intercepted gently. "Sophia, Mrs. Barbara, is a volunteer, not E." "It's okay," I said. "I'd be honored to be your library grandma, Sophia." She beamed and hugged my legs before running back to her mother. I left the library with tears in my eyes. But they weren't sad tears. Monday morning, I met with Patricia, the financial advisor. Her office was modern and efficient, with certificates on the wall and a warm, no-nonsense demeanor that reminded me of Helen. "Mrs. Patterson, thank you for coming in. I've reviewed the information Harold sent over." "How bad is it?" she smiled. "It's not bad at all. May I be frank with you?" "Please." "Looking at your financial history, you've given your son approximately $97,000 over the last 15 years. If that money had been invested conservatively, even just in index funds, it would be worth approximately $160,000 today." I felt sick. "However," Patricia continued, "you're not in bad shape. Your house is paid off. That's about $200,000 in equity in today's market. You have about $45,000 in savings, which hasn't been touched yet. And your pension plus Social Security gives you about $3,000 a month, which is enough to live on if you're careful. What about the credit card debt, the $15,000? The credit card company's fraud investigation should recover most of that. Based on what Harold told me about the circumstances, I'd estimate you'll get back about $12,000. You'll be responsible for about $3,000 the deductible, plus some charges they might consider authorized since your son had previous permission. $3,000. It could have been worse. So what should I do? Patricia pulled up a spreadsheet on her computer. First, we set up a budget. Your current expenses are reasonable utilities, groceries, insurance, medications. We can work with that. Second, we protect what you have. No one gets access to your accounts except you. No one gets your financial information. Period. What about when I die? Your will is already set up to go to charity, correct? Yes. Then you're protected there too. My advice, live your life. Spend some money on yourself. Take that trip you've been putting off. Buy the expensive coffee. You've earned it. I don't feel like I've earned anything. Patricia's expression softened. Mrs. Patterson, Barbara, you survived a life-threatening medical emergency. You escaped a financially abusive relationship with your own child. You're rebuilding your life at 72. That's not just earning it. That's being a warrior. I left her office with a budget, a plan, and something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. But hope is fragile. Wednesday afternoon, my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole out of habit. A woman I didn't recognize stood on my porch. Late 30s, professional attire, carrying a leather folder. I opened the door with the chain still on. Yes, Mrs. Patterson, I'm Amanda Rhodes from the Department of Children and Families. I need to speak with you about a report we received. My blood went cold. What kind of report? May I come in? It'll only take a few minutes. I let her in, my mind racing. What had Michael done? Amanda sat on my couch, opened her folder, and pulled out a form. We received a report alleging that you're experiencing cognitive decline and may be a danger to yourself. The report also mentions you're preventing your grandchildren from contacting you, which raised some concerns about the children's welfare. Who made this report? I'm not at liberty to say, but it came from a family member. Michael or Tiffany, using the system to harass me. I'm not experiencing cognitive decline, I said carefully. I had emergency surgery last week, but I'm recovering well. May I ask about the situation with your grandchildren? So I told her everything. The surgery, the theft, the Disney trip, the will changes. I showed her my bank statements on my laptop. I showed her the threatening letter from Tiffany's lawyer. Amanda's expression grew increasingly concerned as I talked, but not with me for me. Mrs. Patterson, I'm going to be honest with you. This is clearly not a case of cognitive decline or self-neglect. This is a family conflict over money. So you're not taking the report seriously. Oh, I'm taking it seriously, but not in the way whoever filed it hoped I would. She made notes in her file. I'm going to document that you're clearly competent, you have good reasons for your decisions, and you're not preventing contact. You're setting healthy boundaries with people who stole from you. Will that be the end of it? For us, yes. But Mrs. Patterson, document everything. Keep records of all communications, all financial transactions, everything. Because based on what you've told me, this won't be the last attempt to manipulate systems to get to you. After she left, I called Harold. They reported me to DCF. Son of a bitch. Harold rarely cursed, which meant he was truly angry. I'll draft a cease and desist letter. This is harassment. Will it help? It'll create a paper trail. And if they keep this up, we can pursue a restraining order. That night, lying in bed, I finally let myself break down. I cried for the son I thought I'd raised, the one who would have been there in the hospital holding my hand, the one who would have rather missed a vacation than see his mother in pain. I cried for the years I'd wasted making excuses for him, the money I'd given thinking it was love, the boundaries I'd failed to set. I cried for Jake and Emma, who were being raised to think manipulation and exploitation were normal. And I cried for myself, for the lonely 72-year-old woman who'd almost died alone because she'd spent a lifetime being too generous and too forgiving. But when I was done crying, something had shifted. The grief was still there, but underneath it was something harder, stronger, determination. I wasn't going to let them destroy me. I was going to live. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of silence from Michael and Tiffany. No calls, no emails, no lawyers' letters. Just eerie, unsettling quiet. I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. In those 3 weeks, I'd fallen into a routine that felt almost normal. Water aerobics Tuesday and Thursday with Dorothy, Susan, Margaret, and Pearl. Coffee after at the shop across the street. Library story time every Tuesday afternoon where Sophia had started bringing me drawings she made at home. A weekly lunch with Helen. A financial planning session with Patricia. My surgical incision had healed to a thin pink line. The pain was mostly gone, replaced by an occasional twinge when I moved wrong. I was rebuilding my life. Slowly, carefully, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Michael wasn't done. The call came on a Thursday evening in late April. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mom?" Michael's voice, but different. Broken. Rough, like he'd been crying. "Michael? Please don't hang up, please. I need to tell you something." I weighted my grip tight on the phone. Tiffany left me. Silence stretched between us. I should have felt triumphant. Vindicated. Instead, I felt nothing. "When did I see? 3 days ago. She took the kids to her parents' house in Jacksonville. She says she can't be married to someone whose own mother won't speak to him. That I'm useless. That my family is useless. That she's done." "I'm sorry you're going through that," I said, and I meant it. Not sorry for him, sorry that Jake and Emma were caught in the middle. "Are you because you started all of this?" And there it was, the victim mentality. Even now, even broken, he couldn't take responsibility. "I started this," my voice was ice. "Michael, you abandoned me during emergency surgery. You stole $15,000. You did that, not me. It wasn't stealing, you're my mother. You've always helped me. Helping is giving freely. Stealing is taking without permission. You stole from me when I was at my most vulnerable, and now you're upset about the consequences. I made a mistake. How long are you going to punish me for one mistake?" "One mistake," I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Michael, this wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. Years of taking and never giving back. Years of treating me like an ATM instead of a person. The Disney trip was just the final straw." "I need you, Mom." His voice cracked. "I don't know what to do. I can't afford the house on my own. I can't pay for the kids' activities. I'm drowning here." "Then I suggest you learn to swim." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you're 45 years old. You have a good job. You're capable of figuring this out. You just never had to before because I always bailed you out. So that's it. You're just done with me with your grandchildren." I closed my eyes. Thought about Jake and Emma. About baby Lily growing in Tiffany's belly. About the family I'd thought I had versus the reality of what it was. "Michael, you haven't apologized. Not once in this entire conversation. You've been angry that I caught you. Upset about the consequences. But you haven't said, 'I'm sorry I hurt you.'" Silence on the other end. "Do you even know how the surgery went?" I continued. "Whether I had complications, whether I'm okay." "Did you ever ask?" More silence. "You called once from Disney to tell me how magical it was. That was 3 weeks ago. You haven't asked about my health once." How are you?" he asked quietly. "I'm better than I've been in years. I have friends, hobbies, a life that doesn't revolve around waiting for you to need something from me. I'm healing, Michael, from the surgery and from you. So that's it. You're just done. I changed my will. Everything goes to charity when I die. The house, the savings, everything. You're not in it anymore." The sound he made was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. "You can't do that." "I can, and I did. It's been legally executed for weeks. There's nothing left for you to take from me, Michael. You already took it all." "Mom, please." "Goodbye, Michael." I hung up. Then I turned off my phone and sat in the darkness of my living room listening to my own heartbeat. I'd expected to feel triumphant, powerful, vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. Sad for the relationship we'd never have. Sad for the son I'd thought I'd raised. Sad for the grandchildren who would grow up thinking I was the villain in this story. But underneath the sadness was something solid, something unshakable. Peace May arrived with flowers blooming in my small garden and warmth returning to the air. I was having lunch with Helen, Dorothy, and Susan at a small Italian restaurant downtown. Our Thursday tradition, water aerobics in the morning lunch, after then home to rest before the evening. We were laughing about something Dorothy had said, Something about her grandson's terrible taste in girlfriends when I saw them. Michael, Tiffany, Jake, Emma. They were seated in a corner booth across the restaurant. Tiffany was noticeably pregnant now, her belly round under a flowing dress. Jake and Emma were coloring on kids' menus. Michael looked thinner, older, exhausted. Our eyes met across the room. Tiffany saw me next. She grabbed Michael's arm, whispered something urgent. They had a brief, tense discussion. Then Michael stood up and started walking toward our table. Helen saw my expression and turned. Is that? Yes. Do you want to leave? No. Michael reached our table. He looked at Dorothy and Susan with confusion, then back at me. Mom? Michael. My friends went silent, watching. Can I talk to you privately? I looked at Helen, who nodded encouragingly. I looked at Dorothy, who gave me a thumbs up. I looked at Susan, who mouthed, You've got this. You can talk here. These are my friends. Michael glanced at them uncomfortably, then back to me. Mom, please. Just 5 minutes. Something in his face was different. Humbler. Broken in a way that seemed real. Fine. Outside. We walked out to the small patio area in front of the restaurant. The spring air was warm birds singing in the trees lining the street. A beautiful day that felt wrong for this conversation. Mom, I'm in therapy. That stopped me. What therapy? Twice a week. For the last month. Dr. Sarah Whitman. She specializes in family trauma and, he swallowed hard, and patterns of emotional manipulation and financial abuse. I waited. She helped me see things about how I treated you, how I let Tiffany treat you, how I took advantage of you my whole adult life, how I justified it by telling myself that's what family does. Michael, no, please, let me finish. His hands were shaking. I abandoned you when you needed me most. I stole from you. And then when you cut me off, I tried to punish you for it. The lawyer let her the DCF report that was me. Tiffany wanted to do it, but I agreed. I went along with it. And that makes me just as guilty. He looked at me with eyes so much like his father's that it physically hurt. I was a terrible son. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I wanted you to know that I finally understand what I did. And I'm sorry. Really, genuinely sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Not sorry about the consequences. Sorry that I hurt you. I studied his face looking for the lie. The manipulation. The angle. I didn't see one. What changed? I asked quietly. Tiffany leaving. It was like waking up. Suddenly I was alone and I realized everyone in my life had left me or I'd pushed them away. My wife. My mother. Tom doesn't return my calls anymore. My coworkers avoid me. And I asked myself why. Why does everyone leave? And what did you conclude? That I'm the problem? I've been the problem all along. I took and never gave back. I expected everyone to sacrifice for me while I sacrificed nothing. And when someone finally said no, I couldn't handle it. A woman walked past us with a stroller, and we both paused until she was out of earshot. Dr. Sarah asked me when was the last time I asked how you were doing. Not because I needed something, but because I cared. I couldn't answer. I literally couldn't remember. His voice broke. What kind of son doesn't know the last time he asked his mother how she was? A son who was raised with too much privilege and not enough consequences, I said. You didn't raise me that way. I became that way. With Tiffany, with the lifestyle we wanted, with trying to keep up with her friends and their perfect lives. We got so caught up in appearances that we forgot about reality. About you. I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to believe him. Why should I trust this isn't another manipulation? You shouldn't. He wiped his eyes. You shouldn't trust me at all. I haven't earned it. But Mom, I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm just asking if maybe someday we could have coffee. Just talk. I want to know how you're doing. Really doing. Not because I need something, but because you're my mom and I love you. Behind him, through the restaurant window, I could see Tiffany watching us. She wasn't on her phone. She wasn't talking to the kids. She was just watching, waiting. Is Tiffany really leaving you? I asked. We're in marriage counseling, 3 times a week. It's brutal. She says she'll try, but only if I become a better person, a better husband, a better father. And she's right. The kids deserve better than what we've been teaching them. What have you been teaching them? That people exist to give us things. That grandma is there to buy us stuff and watch us when it's convenient. That love means getting what you want. He looked down at his feet. Emma asked me yesterday why you hate us, and I had to tell her the truth that you don't hate us, but we treated you so badly that you can't be around us anymore. And she cried. My heart clenched, but I held firm. That's not on me, Michael. That's on you. I know it is, and I'm trying to fix it. Not fix us. I don't know if that's possible, but fix me. Teach the kids about gratitude and consequences and earning things instead of expecting them. From inside the restaurant, I heard a child's voice, Emma calling for her dad. I should go, Michael said. But Mom, I paid back $3,000. It's all I can afford right now with the mortgage and Tiffany's lawyer fees and therapy. But I set up automatic payments. Every month, $400 until I've paid back everything I took. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Not because you're asking. Because it's right. Because I stole from you and theft requires restitution. He smiled weakly. Dr. Sarah's words, not mine. He turned to leave, then stopped. You look good, Mom. Healthy. Happy even. I'm glad. You deserve to be happy. He walked back into the restaurant before I could respond. I stood there for a long moment processing what had just happened. Then I went back inside to my friends. Well, Helen asked, how was it? He apologized. Really apologized. Do you believe him? Dorothy asked. I don't know. Maybe he said he's in therapy. Susan snorted. Lots of people go to therapy and don't change, but some do. The question is, do you want to give him the chance? I thought about Jake and Emma. About baby Lily, who would be born in a few months. About the possibility of a relationship with them, even a limited one. I thought about Michael's face, the genuine remorse I'd seen there. But I also thought about waking up alone in that hospital. About the bank statements. About the years of being taken for granted. I need more time, I said finally. Then take it, Helen said, squeezing my hand. You don't owe him anything. If he's really changed, he'll wait. Over the next 3 months, Michael proved he was serious. Every week an email, not asking for anything, just updates about his therapy sessions, the things he was learning, the ways he was trying to change. Pictures of Jake at baseball practice, Emma at dance recitals, updates about Tiffany's pregnancy morning sickness doctor's appointments, the baby's gender confirmation, a girl as they'd thought, and every month $400 deposited into my account. On the first of the month like clockwork. Never late, never with strings attached. He didn't ask to see me, didn't push for coffee or visits, just existed at a distance, proving through actions that he was trying. In July, I got an unexpected email from Tiffany. From Tiffany Patterson, subject I owe you this time. 8:32 p.m., Barbara. I don't expect you to read this. I wouldn't if I were you. But I needed to write it anyway. I owe you an apology, a real one. Not because Michael's in therapy and told me I should, but because I finally understand what I did to you. I saw you as an ATM, someone to use, a convenient grandmother who would babysit for free and buy the kids whatever they wanted. I encouraged Michael to take from you. I justified the Disney trip by telling myself you wouldn't mind that you'd want the kids to have magical memories. When Michael told me what he'd done taking your card while you were in surgery, I said she won't mind. I actually said that. What kind of person says that about someone in emergency surgery? I was that person. I was entitled and selfish, and I taught my children to be the same way. I'm pregnant with my 3rd child. A daughter we're naming Lily, and I don't want her to grow up like Jake and Emma did, expecting everything and appreciating nothing. We're in family therapy now, all of us. Jake, Emma, Michael, and me. Teaching the kids about gratitude, about earning things, about what love really means. It's hard. They don't understand why they can't just have whatever they want anymore. But it's necessary. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking to be part of your life. I just wanted you to know that I see what I did now, and I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. If we ever meet again, I'll say this in person, but I needed to say it now when there's nothing to gain from it, when it's just the truth. I hope you're well. Tiffany, I read that email 5 times. Then I showed it to Helen, who'd become my sounding board for all things Michael related. Do you think she means it? I asked. Helen read it carefully. I think people can change. Not always. Not easily. But sometimes when the consequences are severe enough, they can. Should I respond? Do you want to? I thought about Tiffany at that first hospital visit asking the doctor, how long will this take, instead of is she going to be okay? I thought about her voice through my front door. This is elder abuse. We should call someone. But I also thought about what change looks like, about how hard it is to admit you were wrong, about the courage it takes to apologize with no expectation of forgiveness. I typed a response. To Tiffany Patterson, subject re I owe you this, Tiffany. Thank you for your honesty. I appreciate that this apology came without conditions or expectations. I'm not ready to see you or Michael yet. I may never be ready. What happened hurt me deeply, and that hurt doesn't just disappear because people apologize, but I acknowledge that you're trying. That counts for something. I hope your pregnancy goes well. I hope Lily is healthy and loved. And I hope you teach her better than you taught Jake and Emma. Barbara. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. August brought heat and humidity and an unexpected piece of mail. A letter handwritten addressed to Grandma Barbara in a child's careful script. I opened it with trembling hands. Dear Grandma Barbara, my name is Emma. I'm your granddaughter. I'm 8 years old, almost 9. Dad says I should write you a letter, but he said it has to come from my heart, not because he told me to. I don't really understand what happened with you and Mom and Dad. They say we treated you bad. They say we took you for gratitude. I think that's spelled wrong, but Mom says leave it. I miss you. I miss when you would braid my hair like Elsa. I miss your chocolate chip cookies. I miss when you would read me stories. Dad says you don't hate us. He says you're just taking time because we hurt you. I don't remember hurting you, but Dad says sometimes we hurt people without meaning to. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I didn't mean to. I was just a kid and I didn't know better. We're in therapy now. It's kind of boring, but the therapist lady is nice. She says we need to learn about grateful and appreciation. That's a hard word. I drew you a picture. It's you and me at Disney Castle, but this time you're with us, because I wish you were. Love, Emma. P.S. Jake says hi too, but he's too embarrassed to write. He's dumb sometimes. Enclosed was a drawing. Crayon on construction paper. Cinderella's castle in blue and purple. Stick figures in front, 2 kids. 2 adults and 1 figure with white hair holding their hands. Me. Emma had drawn me with them at Disney. I sat at my kitchen table and cried for the first time in months. Not angry tears, not bitter tears, just sad tears. For the little girl who didn't understand why her grandmother disappeared. For the relationship that had been poisoned by her parents' choices. For the years we'd lost. I called Helen. Emma wrote me a letter. Oh, Barbara. She apologized. An 8-year-old apologized for her parents' actions. What are you going to do? I don't know. Helen, I don't know. We talked for an hour. About forgiveness and boundaries. About the difference between reconciliation and being a doormat. About what I wanted versus what I thought I should want. What does your gut tell you? Helen asked finally. I thought about that. Really thought about it. My gut says, Michael is trying. Really trying. Tiffany is trying. They're in therapy. They're changing how they parent. They're paying me back. That's more than most people do. And I miss my grandchildren. I miss Emma's laugh. I miss Jake's enthusiasm about superheroes. I miss being needed not as an ATM, but as a grandmother. So what's stopping you? Fear. Fear that it's a trick. Fear that they'll hurt me again. Fear that I'll go back to being who I was, the doormat who gave everything and got nothing back. Barbara, you're not that person anymore. You've changed too. You have boundaries now. You have your own life. And you can have a relationship with them without giving up what you've built. Can I? You won't know until you try. That night I wrote a response. Dear Emma, thank you for your letter. Your handwriting is beautiful, and your drawing made me smile. You're right, you were just a kid and you didn't know better. This isn't your fault, sweetheart. Adults sometimes make mistakes that affect the people around them, including children. I don't hate you. I could never hate you. I love you very much. I've been taking time to heal just like your dad said. Sometimes when people hurt us, even if they don't mean to, we need space to feel better. I'm glad you're learning about gratitude and appreciation. Those are important things to know. And I'm glad you have a therapist to help you understand. Tell Jake I said hi back, and tell him he's not dumb, he's 8, and 8-year-old boys are sometimes embarrassed about feelings. That's normal. I'm not ready to see you yet. But maybe soon. I'll let your dad know when I am. I love you, Emma. And I love Jake, too. Never forget that. Love, Grandma Barbara. P.S. I still remember how to braid hair like Elsa. When I see you again, I'll show you. I mailed it the next morning. September arrived with cooler temperatures and an email from Michael. From Michael Patterson, subject, no pressure time, 7:15 a.m., Mom. Emma got your letter. She cried happy tears. She's read it about 20 times and she sleeps with it under her pillow. I'm not writing to ask for anything. I just wanted you to know that your letter meant everything to her, and to me. I know you're not ready to see us yet. I understand. We'll wait as long as it takes. But if and only if you ever want to try coffee, just the two of us. I'm ready. Anytime, any place, your terms. No pressure, no expectations. Just an open invitation. Love, Michael. I stared at that email for 3 days. On the 4th day, I responded. To Michael Patterson, subject no pressure. Michael Coffee. Next Tuesday at 10 a.m. The Corner Cafe on Main Street. 1 hour. Just us. If this goes well, maybe we can talk about seeing the kids. If it doesn't, we maintain the distance. Your terms. You don't ask me for money. You don't make excuses for the past. You accept that I've changed my will, and I'm not changing it back. My terms. I'll listen with an open mind. I'll try to see the person you're becoming, not just the person you were. Deal, Mom. His response came within minutes. From Michael Patterson, subject no pressure deal. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for giving me this chance. I won't waste it. Love, Michael. Tuesday morning arrived too quickly. I changed outfits 3 times before settling on simple slacks and a blouse. I arrived at the Corner Cafe 15 minutes early and ordered a coffee I didn't drink, just sat there gripping the cup watching the door. Michael arrived exactly on time. He looked different. Thinner, yes, but also lighter somehow, less burdened. He wore jeans and a simple shirt, his hair a little longer than usual. He sat down across from me carefully, like I might bolt at any sudden movement. Hi, Mom. Hi. We sat in awkward silence for a moment. Then we both started laughing, nervous, uncomfortable laughter that broke the tension. This is weird, Michael said. Very weird. I ordered your favorite. He pushed a cinnamon roll across the table. From the bakery you like. I picked it up this morning. A peace offering. The Barbara from 6 months ago would have dissolved at this gesture. The Barbara I'd become studied it carefully. Thank you. Another silence. Michael fidgeted with his coffee cup. I don't know where to start, he admitted. How about the truth? How are you really doing? He took a breath. Honestly terrified. Tiffany could still leave. My job is stable, but barely. I took a voluntary pay cut to afford therapy. The kids are struggling with all the changes, and I wake up every day wondering if I'm doing enough to fix what I broke. That's honest. Dr. Sarah says I need to start with honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. He looked at me. So here's more honesty. I'm ashamed. Every time I think about what I did leaving you in that hospital, taking your money, trying to manipulate you afterward, I want to crawl into a hole. I don't know how I became that person. How did you? I asked. I raised you better than that. You did. You really did. He ran his hand through his hair. I think when Dad died, something broke in me. I was 30, about to be a father myself, and I lost the person I was supposed to model myself after. And instead of growing up and figuring it out, I just leaned on you harder. Made you into both parents. That's not your fault. Let me finish. He held up a hand. It's not my fault Dad died, but it is my fault that I never learned to stand on my own. Every time I had a problem, I came to you. Every time I needed money, you gave it. And over time, I stopped seeing it as generosity and started seeing it as entitlement. Like I deserved it because I was your son. When did Tiffany enter the picture? His expression darkened. Tiffany came from money. Her parents are wealthy, like Vacation Home in Aspen wealthy. And when we got married, I felt this pressure to keep up, to give her the lifestyle she was used to prove I was good enough for her. So you took from me to give to her. Yes. He looked me in the eye. And that's unforgivable. I know that. I'm not asking you to forgive it. I'm just explaining how I justified it to myself. What about the Disney trip specifically? Michael flinched. The Disney trip, God. He paused, gathering himself. Tiffany had been talking about it for months. Her friends had all taken their kids and she felt left out. We'd been fighting about money. We always fought about money. And when you went into surgery, I just I panicked. You panicked by going to Disney World. I panicked by thinking about 3 days of sitting in a hospital waiting room with Tiffany and the kids. 3 days of her complaining, the kids whining, me feeling useless. And I literally thought, Mom will be fine. The doctor said it was routine. And we have this credit card info. We could just go. She won't even know until after, and by then it'll be over, and we can deal with it. So you chose convenience over your dying mother. He nodded, tears streaming down his face now. Yes, I chose convenience. I chose cowardice. I chose wrong. And I will regret that choice for the rest of my life. I watched him cry. Part of me wanted to comfort him. The mother in me, the part that had spent 45 years kissing his scraped knees and telling him everything would be okay. But I didn't. I let him sit with his regret. Have you told your children what you did? I asked. Yes, in therapy. Dr. Sarah said we needed to model taking responsibility. So we told them age appropriately that we took money that wasn't ours, that we hurt you, that we were wrong. And we apologized. How did they react? Emma cried. Jake got angry, not at us, at himself. He thought it was his fault somehow because he'd asked to go to Disney. We had to explain that kids asking for things is normal, but adults stealing to provide them isn't. Are they in therapy too? Individual and family sessions. Emma's working through some anxiety about losing people. Jake's learning to manage his emotions better. It's hard, but necessary. We talked for another 30 minutes about his marriage counseling with Tiffany, about the parenting changes they were implementing, about baby Lily due in November, about his job, his finances, his daily life. He didn't ask me for anything, didn't hint at needing help, just talked, like an adult talking to another adult. When the hour was up, I stood to leave. Mom, Michael stood too. Can we do this again? I thought about it, really thought about it. Yes, same time next week. Thank you. He moved like he might hug me, then stopped himself. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Michael. But love isn't enough. You have to earn back trust. I know, and I will, however long it takes. We met for coffee 6 more times over the next 2 months. Each time, Michael was punctual, honest, and present. He asked about my life, my water aerobics friends, my volunteer work at the library, my finances. He listened without trying to fix or control. By the 4th coffee, I found myself relaxing around him. By the 6th, I was laughing at his stories about the kids' therapy sessions. In November, baby Lily was born. 8 pounds, 2 ounces, healthy and perfect. Michael sent me a photo but didn't ask me to visit. Just, she's here. She's beautiful. When you're ready, we'd love for you to meet her. I looked at that photo for a long time. A tiny infant with a shock of dark hair and eyes scrunched shut. Another grandchild. And I realized I was ready. Not to go back to how things were. Not to be the ATM grandmother who gave everything and got nothing. But to try. To build something new. Something with boundaries and mutual respect and actual love instead of obligation. I picked up my phone. To Michael Patterson, subject Lily. She's beautiful. I'd like to meet her. And the kids. Your house this Sunday at 2 p.m. 2 hours maximum. Ground rules: no asking for money, no expecting me to babysit, no treating this like everything is back to normal. This is a trial. If it goes well, we can try again. If it doesn't, we go back to distance. Agreed, Mom. His response was immediate. From Michael Patterson, subject Lily agreed. Thank you, Mom. We'll be ready. The kids are going to be so happy. Love, Michael. Sunday arrived. I drove to Michael's house, the house I'd given him $30,000 for, with my heart pounding and Helen's words in my ears. You're not the same person anymore. You have boundaries now. Remember that. Michael opened the door before I could knock. Behind him, I could see Jake and Emma practically vibrating with excitement. Grandma, Emma launched herself at me. I caught her carefully, mindful of my still healing scar. She smelled like strawberry shampoo and children's soap. Hi, sweetheart. Jake hung back, unsure. I opened my other arm. Come here, Jake. He came slowly, then wrapped his arms around me tight. I'm sorry, Grandma, for everything. I know, honey. I know. Tiffany stood in the hallway holding baby Lily. She looked nervous, uncertain, so different from the entitled woman who'd asked how long my surgery would take. Barbara, thank you for coming. Tiffany, an awkward beat. Then Tiffany stepped forward. Would you like to meet Lily? I took the tiny bundle into my arms. Lily opened her eyes brown like Michael's, like mine, and made a small noise. "Hi, Lily," I whispered. "I'm your Grandma Barbara." And something in my chest, something that had been closed and locked and protected for 6 months, opened just a crack. Not all the way, not without reservation, but enough. Enough to try again. It's been 8 months since that first visit. I see Michael and his family twice a month, always at their house, always for 2 hours, always with clear boundaries. They don't ask me for money. I don't volunteer it. They don't expect me to babysit. If I offer, it's because I want to, not because they need it. They say thank you. They show appreciation. They're teaching Jake and Emma about earning things instead of expecting them. It's not perfect. Sometimes old habits resurface. Sometimes Tiffany says something that makes me bristle. Sometimes I see Michael slipping into old patterns, but they catch themselves. They apologize. They try again. And slowly, painfully, we're building something new. I still go to water aerobics with Dorothy, Susan, Margaret, and Pearl. I still volunteer at the library where Sophia still calls me her library grandma. I still have my own life, my own friends, my own boundaries. The will hasn't changed. Everything still goes to charity. Michael knows this and accepts it. Last week, Emma asked if I could teach her to bake cookies. Not chocolate chip, my chocolate chip cookies. I said yes. We spent an afternoon in my kitchen just like when she was little, but different too, because she said thank you, because she helped clean up, because when I got tired, she noticed and suggested we finish another day. "I love you, Grandma," she said as Michael picked her up. "I love you too, sweetheart." After they left, I sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd discovered the theft, where I'd planned my counterattack, where I'd rebuilt my life and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the desperate hope that things would go back to how they were, but the steady, realistic hope that maybe, just maybe, they could become something better.